everybody, welcome back to my channel. So after I asked you guys on Instagram what you wanted to see from me, like what videos, I kind of narrowed it down to two options. It was my medical storage tour and my TPN setup. For those of you that don't know what TPN is, it is a, if you guys know what IV fluids are, let me show you, one second. This is a bag of IV fluids. If you guys have seen people in hospital, usually people will be on like a drip. This is what an IV fluid bag is. Obviously it's in packaging. I'm not going to take it out because it won't be sterile. But this is what an IV fluid bag looks like. You can hear Tom's alarm going off in the background. Now TPN is essentially IV fluids, except it's got nutrients added into it. So it's got things like potassium, magnesium, iron, fats, lipids, everything you could possibly need nutritional wise, TPN has. My IV pole is behind me. I'm going to grab yesterday's bag just to show you guys what I mean by that. So as you can probably tell, the TPN setup was highly requested, and you guys wanted to see that over my medical storage tour, so that is the video I'm going to film for you tonight. However, I will film the medical storage tour another day, but I want to get this one up for you guys first because you seem to have liked that more and wanted that more. So this is what a bag of TPN looks like. This is just what's left over, but you can imagine what this looks like when it's full. It's just basically, I will show you because I'm going to be obviously showing you my video, but this is what it looks like. And then on here, as I was saying before, it has a list of everything that is in the bag, all these things and the amount that's in there. So that's essentially what TPN is, and I get that delivered through a central line that goes into my chest, and it sits in one of the bigger vessels that's in my heart. So it sits in a big vein in my heart, and I get my nutrition through this. Now this is completely different to my feeding tube, which is this little guy here, because a lot of people keep getting confused between this and this. These are completely separate things in different parts of the bodies, and I will do a separate video on my feeding tube. But for today's video, we're going to be focusing on the TPN, which is IV nutrition into the heart, or the bloodstream, more that was the better way of describing it. And that is because my digestive system is pretty much completely paralyzed. It doesn't work. I cannot digest food. But I can consume things orally, because people get confused when they see me eating or drinking and then they're like, but you said you can't have food and drink. That is because I can drain it, and I do have a video where I show you guys what draining is, so I'm going to leave that a link either down below or it will pop up on the screen somewhere. So if you're interested in knowing more about draining and what I mean, if you see me eat and drink, do not worry, it's not getting digested. Like, I'm not lying to you guys. I just drain it out of my feeding tube, so I don't have to be sick. So I have to try and stick to things like liquids or mushy foods, and if I do have anything that kind of isn't mushy or isn't liquid, it's just gonna make me sick. I think this is a long enough intro. I'm gonna separate this video into sections. I'm gonna show you guys the prep, so what we do beforehand, the actual setting up, and then obviously, I don't know, afterwards. Like, there's lots of steps to setting up TPN, so I'm kind of do my best to guide you through the process, but we are going to be talking you through everything, and I'm going to start with what my prep. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I'm going to be filming this video mostly vlog style. You'd think I owned an animal, but it's just Tom. The first prep thing that I do is I bring my IV pole from the bedroom into this space here, which is kind of like the office space and my medical storage. And I will take down yesterday's bag of TPN, which I just took down to show you guys, obviously. So that's this thing here. So I will just take that off the IV pole and put it to the side, out of the way, and make sure I open the latch on my pump so it's ready for the new giving set. And I'll explain what all that is in a bit. But my first prep is to go get my bag of TPN. Now I keep that in the garage, because it has to be kept in the fridge. So I have a fridge specifically for TPN. This is just like the beer fridge, as we call it. where we keep alcohol mostly in the garage. We have like a fridge in our house. This is just like a spare one. And that little guy is my TPN fridge. So only TPN can be kept in here. Nothing else at all. That is just some medication that needs to be kept in the fridge. But apart from that, nothing else goes in this fridge. And there is a little freezer thing here as well, but we don't use that. So only TPN can go in here. You can't put any meat in, it can't be contaminated with anything, even though it's in a bag, cannot be contaminated. And up on top is a little travel box. So if I need to take my TPN anywhere, this is the box we will put it in. And it says refrigerate, do not freeze. And then up in the top of this fridge, or freezer, we have a load of ice packs, and these get delivered with my TPN. So we just pack those ice packs in that box with my TPN, so it's transportable basically. So first step is to get the TPN. So I just grab a bag, close the fridge, and away we go. If you know, you know.
And away we go.
So first step is prepping the bag, I guess. Well, the next step, not the first step. So what we do is we get some scissors. These are just like medical scissors. We have to like prep the bag. So to do that, you have to cut a little triangle in here so it will fit on the pole. And the reason we have to put the protection over it is because it's sensitive to light. So it can't be like left in the daylight or whatever. That's why. Just say light protective overpouch. And then we cut off the bottom so we can obviously spike the bag with the giving set, which is this thing. And then there's another bag inside that bag which holds the TPN. So that's what it looks like full. Just take that out and then we just kind of put it on its back. I'm obviously doing my best not to touch this bit here. Keep that as clean as possible. And we just kind of gently mix it around like that. Then poke this thing out. And I'm going to reach inside the bag and grab it at the top, like so, and this gets hooked onto the IV pole. And then I just turn up the inside so Tom has access to the bottom of it, like so. And then the next step is grabbing all of the things that we're going to need to actually set up the TPN. So that's what we're going to do now. And Tom's going to get out the silver tray where we put everything on. And I'm going to put all the things in here. So this is just rubbish from this morning. So I'm just going to move that tray. And then we have this bad boy. Now before I do anything, I'm just going to use this alcohol foam. Now I'm going to wash my hands properly, but this is just to prep the tray to put the items in. And even though they're in packaging, we're still going to wipe down the tray anyway. So I use a wipe. It gets rid of all the bacteria, which is this here. These wipes. I don't know what these are called, but this is what we use. So that's clean. We're going to get 2 syringes. Then we get 3 wipes. A giving set, which is the tubing that's going to connect from the bag to me. And lastly, oh, nobody left. Darn it. Okay, well, this is more footage for the video. So we head over to the spare room. I feel like this is one of those Vogue things. Have you seen those videos? This is where we keep all of our stock that we don't need out there, just because there's a lot of it.
Big one.
The big one, this one? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of medical supplies. So these are the dressing packs that we use. So I'm just going to bring out a few just to stock up the drawers. So just put one in there. And then the rest I'll just put in here for now. That's everything that we're going to use to set up our sterile field, and we're going to do that on here. Okay, so before we do anything else, we're going to go ahead to the bathroom and we're going to wash our hands and show you guys what we do to prep that side of things, because that's the next step. So we just get everything ready, what we're going to use, and then we come out here and we do the setup. So let's go wash our hands. Now, normally we use paper towels that we get given by our medical company, but we ran out, so we're just going to be using paper towels from Kohl's. They're pretty much going to be the exact same thing. but they're just not from our medical supplier. And those are not sterile, it's just, they're just clean, and that's just what we use to wipe our hands with. So, first things first, take off all of our watches. Tom's just taken his bracelet off. So take off any watches or rings. The only thing that I leave on is my medical bracelet. And I was told that I was allowed to by my TPN team. So that's why I leave this on. And I have a little band on, which I'm just gonna cut off before we start. For content, I'm just gonna show you Tom doing it, so then you get the idea of what we do. And that's just like foam wash that gets rid of like 99.9% of germs or whatever it is. So we do like I don't want to say like a proper surgical scrub, but like hand hygiene. And we use hot water as well, obviously. So we do our best to not touch anything after we've, like obviously you watch Tommy turn the tap off with his elbow, because obviously if you're touching the tap then you're just getting more germs and stuff on your hands. And then carefully put the tissue in the bin without touching the bin. It's a very skilled process. And then he's gonna go ahead and use hand foam, alcohol foam, before doing anything. Okay, so next we're gonna set up our sterile field, but first we're gonna wipe down the actual tray, and we're using the same wipes as we used when I wiped down this tray. Okay, so this is the dressing pack. And we carefully kind of put it on there without touching it too much. As you can see, Tom's touching the very corners of it and not the inside of the pack, the outside. So just kind of carefully open it without touching it on the inside of the sterile field, if that makes sense. Now these are basic like wound care packs that people use to change dressings with, but we use it as a sterile field to put the, you know, syringes and etc. on there. And the reason you have to do this and be so sterile is because it is a central line, which means, like I explained before, it goes into a main vessel in your heart, and obviously that's directly into your bloodstream, so you have to be as clean as possible, because you do not want any bacteria going into your bloodstream, because you don't have the same defense mechanism that you have for your immune system for like other things. Next we're going to be using a giving set. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. Just opening that onto the sterile field. Sorry I keep saying sterile field, but I don't know what other word to use. Next we're going to be putting the syringes on there. And again, if you look at the way he's opening the packaging, he's not touching the syringe at all, only the packaging. And then lastly, the alcohol wipe, which you actually use the little tweezers to get those out. And obviously Tom isn't sterile, so before he actually touches anything in here, he's going to use the alcohol foam, which is that there. So we have 3 of those. So Tom wears gloves. These aren't sterile gloves, these are just normal gloves, and he wears those to protect his hands from the alcohol foam, or spray, because we have 2 types of alcohol. Because he gets very dry hands and he just prefers to protect his hands with the gloves. But that is not a requirement at all, and the way we've been taught is to not use sterile gloves, so that's what we're not gonna do. We're just using our bare hands. Okay, so next he's gonna pop off that little blue cap, which is a protection, and then he's going to spike the bag with the giving set. But before he can do that, he needs to get rid of this little white thing that holds it together. Again, he's not sterile anymore, so he's using the foam again. Every time you touch something or become unsterile, we have to use the foam again. So you will see us doing that a lot. That's just, you know, because that's the way it has to be. So carefully remove that. And then he's gonna remove the cap on the end of the giving set. He's gonna spike the bag. And then the TPN is gonna run down the line, as you can see. Okay, so alcohol foam. And I'm gonna pop the line in the machine and turn it on. I'm not gonna go on about what all the details of the machine because that doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna skip past all that. But what I'm doing now is priming the line. So that means getting all the air out. So you just press prime on the pump and then okay. And then that's gonna prime. I know that looks like a lot of TPM, but it's only 9 mils, which is nothing at all. Okay, so I'm using alcohol, and then I'm going to use these wipes. Just kind of carefully open them without touching too much. The same way Tom did with the dressing pack. The first wipe, we unclamp, and then we give the whole line a wipe. Like that. The second one, we're just gonna twist. I'm gonna use different parts of the wipe, so I'm not using the same one. I'll like twist it. And then the last one, we're gonna get our nail and kind of rub the tip. Okay, so after we've cleaned the line, we've let that dry for a little bit so it's properly cleaned. I'm gonna take our syringes, twist the lid off, and pull back to get the air out. I'm gonna get rid of a little bit, so there's half in there. And we're gonna pull back to make sure that we're getting blood in there. That means that the line is working.
Let's get rid of the Churlock.
And to get rid of the Churlock, which is like a blood thinner that sits in your line all day so you don't get any clotting. Discard that. Cotton bud. I just dab the tip to get rid of the blood so it doesn't drip everywhere. Then we get the next syringe. Draw back. Air. And then we give it a flush to get rid of the blood that's in the line. And we do kind of like a push motion like this, so that works best. Then we're going to connect the TPN. And because we're not using the sterile field after this, I can drop this into it. That's fine. And then we're going to connect. And then we're done. And just press start infusion, and we're done. That's it. And that is how we set up TPN. And this runs for 12 hours. And then in the morning we disconnect, which is not quite as a sterile procedure, but it's a very, very clean procedure, obviously. And that is pretty much it. Now we're just gonna show you how we kind of clean up. If that's a step, I don't know. So after, you don't need to be sterile to clean up, obviously, because we don't need to use this anymore. So all the little bits that we've used throughout are gonna go back into the field. I just put the cotton buds in the little liquid to soak it all up. Everything else goes in here. And I'll just use the wipe just to wipe any blood or anything that's been in here. This doesn't need to be sterile because we're just putting rubbish in here anyway. Tie this up. Like this. We use the bag that the TPN came in as a bin, kind of, just to keep everything together like that. So all the rubbish that we've accumulated, which is a fair bit, is going to go in here. And then we come over to this area which we've clearly made a mess of, and again all of this goes in here. And then we're going to do kind of what we did before we set up, and that's just wipe down the trays. So we wipe down both trays so they're ready to be used again, because the morning I will use this one and then the evening I will use this one. Obviously we're going to re-wipe them anyway before our next use, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And again, we're just going to wipe down the tray as well. And that, my friends, is pretty much it. And then this just goes in the bin. That's so sweaty, gross.
What do you expect?
Not to be sweaty. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. That's how we set it up, so yeah. So guys, if you enjoyed today's video, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. it would mean a lot to me, and also hit the post notification bell to notify you guys every time I upload. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. All my links will be in the description, and any additional information that I have mentioned throughout the video. I love you guys to the moon and back, and I will see you in my next video.